All right, so today we're jumping into a really fascinating system of ancient logic. It's basically a series of super clever, kind of paradoxical riddles, and they all circle around one central problem. So here's the question at the heart of it all. What do you do with a holy object that's become, well, unholy? Imagine you've got this sacred thing, right? It belongs in a holy space, but whoops, it accidentally crosses the line and becomes ritually impure. Now you're stuck. You can't just toss it out, but you can't bring it back in either. So, what's the move? Well, it turns out ancient Jewish law had a whole system of answers for this, and they are super ingenious, sometimes even paradoxical. But this isn't just about a bunch of old rules. No, it's about a totally unique way of thinking. The ancient Talmudic sages came up with this incredible problem-solving framework to deal with this exact situation. And believe me, it tells us a ton about how we define and categorize the world. Okay, so to really get these puzzles, we need to understand the playing field. We're talking about a sacred boundary problem. The whole conflict happens right at the edge of the ancient temple courtyard in Jerusalem. And this place, it was a sacred space with some very strict rules. And the key concept here is something called ritual impurity. Basically, if an object from the temple crosses that boundary into the non-sacred world, it enters this state. To get back in, it has to be purified first. You can't just walk it back in. It's in a whole new state of being now, and it needs a very specific process to fix it. And that, my friends, is where all the fun begins. All right, let's look at our first case, the paradox of the pot. It's pretty straightforward. You've got a simple earthenware pot. It's been taken outside the courtyard, so now it's impure. The big challenge is, how do you get it back inside so you can dispose of it the right way? So the solution they came up with is, well, it's a little weird. Here's how it works. First, while the pot is still outside the courtyard, you puncture it. Then you bring the now punctured pot back inside. And finally, you have to break it completely once it's in there. I know, it sounds a bit strange, right? But that's the whole point. This is where the real puzzle comes in. If puncturing it makes it not a vessel anymore, then why on earth do you still have to break it? I mean, it seems like the problem's already solved, doesn't it? If the puncture purifies it, why the extra step? And the answer they landed on is just brilliant. They figured that the pot is actually in two different states at the same time. See, from a ritual perspective, puncturing it means it's no longer a vessel. Its sacred job is over. But from a functional perspective, it's still a pot. You could still put fruit in it, right? So to deal with both of those states, you have to completely break it inside the courtyard. That satisfies all the rules. So that's our first big idea. An object can have a dual status. Now, what happens when we change the material? Let's get into case number 2, which is all about metal, mending, and purification. Instead of a fragile earthenware pot, we're now dealing with a durable copper vessel. And trust me, that one change, it changes everything. Okay, so with this copper vessel, the solution is totally different. Step 1, you bore a large hole in it while it's outside, basically destroying it. Step 2, you bring the now broken vessel back inside. And then for step 3, you scour and rinse it. Yeah, you heard that right. Scour and rinse the broken pieces. And you're probably thinking, wait, what? Why would you scour and rinse a vessel that's already broken and totally unusable? It feels even more backwards than the first puzzle, doesn't it? You're literally just polishing scrap metal at this point. What's the logic here? Well, the answer is all about the future. It's a whole new principle. The vessel has to be scoured because it can be hammered and refashioned. Think about it. Because copper can be melted down and made into something new, its future potential actually defines its status right now. So you're not just cleaning broken junk, you're purifying the raw material that is going to become a new vessel. Its status is all about what it could be. Okay, we've had dual status, we've had future potential. Now for our third and final case. And this one is, I think, the most elegant puzzle of all. It's the unterrible robes loophole. And this is about the high priest's special robe, which came with a very specific divine command. And that command, straight from the book of Exodus, was, "It shall not be torn." Now here's the problem. Normally, the way you'd purify an impure garment was, you guessed it, to tear it. But with this robe, that's strictly forbidden. So you're in a real bind. It's an impossible situation, right? You have to purify it, but the one method you have is the one thing you're not allowed to do. This is where the loophole comes in. you have to look at the legal definition of what even counts as a garment. In this system of logic, a piece of cloth can only become ritually impure if it's a certain size, at least 3 by 3 fingerbreadths. If it's any smaller than that, legally speaking, it's just an insignificant scrap. It doesn't count. And that little rule, that's the key to everything. And the solution they came up with is just pure genius. Here's what you do. You bring the robe right up to the threshold of the courtyard. Then you move just a tiny section of it across the line, a piece that is smaller than 3 by 3 fingerbreadths. Then you launder that little piece. You see, since that tiny bit isn't legally a garment, it can't transmit impurity. Then you just repeat. You pull another tiny section over, wash it, and keep going, piece by piece, until the entire robe is inside and clean. It's the ultimate legal workaround.
But wait, it's not over yet. Just when you think they've cracked it, the whole thing gets even deeper. The logic gets a challenge, and this leads to probably the most profound idea of all, which is all about what actually makes something significant in the first place.
So a sage named Rav Ada bar Ahava comes along and raises this amazing objection. He basically says, hold on a second. The high priest's robe is a thick, important garment. A tiny 3 by 3 piece of that robe is completely useless on its own. It has no significance by itself. So his question is, why are we even using that measurement for this garment? Why treat this incredibly special robe like it's just any old piece of cloth? And the answer to that objection, this is the big reveal, the answer is that the significance of that small piece is derived from the whole. Let's unpack that, because it's huge. That tiny little piece of the robe, which on its own is pretty much useless, is still considered significant. And why? Because it belongs to the entire high priest's robe. Its holiness isn't based on its own size or what it can do. Nope, its status comes from its source. It's all about context. The whole gives meaning to the part. So let's take a step back. After walking through these 3 pretty intricate puzzles, what have we really learned about this ancient way of thinking? What are the lessons in this ancient logic? This chart really lays it all out. With the earthenware pot, the big principle was dual status. A thing can be 2 things at once. With the copper vessel, it was all about future use. Its potential defines its present. And with the high priest's robe, we got to this incredible idea of derived significance, that the whole gives meaning to its parts. And what's so incredible about all this is that you realize this isn't just a list of random rules. It's a deeply sophisticated system of thinking. It's a framework for figuring out how we categorize our world and how we create meaning. It's all about analyzing what makes something what it is, where its value truly comes from, and how much reality is shaped by context. And that kind of leaves us with a final question to chew on, doesn't it? These ancient thinkers were using these very specific rules to explore huge ideas about the nature of significance. So it makes you think, what are the rules, the unspoken ones, that we create in our own lives today? And how do those rules define what, and maybe even who, we consider to be significant?